and welcome to another episode of Engineers and Cars Fetching Friends from the Airport. This is episode 4. Let's see who we're picking up today. We are fetching Stephen Masuch. I don't know how to say his last name. Maybe I'll ask him that when he gets here. Stephen is the winner of one of the John A. Vink Computer Science Scholarships. Let's see if that changed his life for good. I think he won like 10 or 12 years ago. I just found out who won the 2014 John A. Vink Computer Science Scholarship. Congratulations to Bryce Mathez and Harlan Young. I know you'll do well. Hey.
Still no luggage yet.
No luggage?
I think, Cameron. Hello.
Hello.
Still no luggage as of yet. This is going to be interesting. Maybe.
Are you the only guy without luggage?
No, there's a whole bunch of people. There's a big crowd lineup at the luggage service desk. I overheard some things saying that the outlook still looks good. I don't know the outlook for what exactly. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to see if I can probe more information out of them.
Okay. I'm going to drive in circles.
All right.
And slow down every time I hit door number 9.
You're right. You're not going to run out of battery. You're good?
I'm good for 166 miles.
We should be able to make it in that.
Yeah, I hope so.
That would be a lot of loops.
It would be. Stephen is experiencing luggage issues. A lot of people don't have their luggage, including him. So, I'm going to drive around in circles until I see him on the curb with luggage. I just got a look from a security guard kind of guy. He's here.
What's happening? We're doing this. There's an hand.
So, everybody got their luggage?
It looked like it. It was mislaid somehow and eventually came out on a different baggage carousel.
Misplaced.
So, thank you very much for having me here on your show and in your car.
You're welcome. How do you pronounce your last name?
Masuch.
I totally pronounced it wrong.
I was wondering that. I was wondering if I should give some preliminary warning there. I'm guessing you pronounce it Masuch?
I tried it a few different ways. Masuch and Masuch. Stephen Masuch.
It is a little bit odd.
But there's like a Z sound in there?
There is a Z sound in there, and interestingly, when I lived in Victoria, I found a person with the last name of Masuch, but with a Z instead of the S. And when I met this person and asked what the deal was, they said that it came through their husband, and that his family had, it's originally sort of a Prussian sort of name. His family had come down through Czechoslovakia and then moved over to North America. So along the way, it got transliterated a bit more literally.
Okay.
Here we are in San Francisco.
Almost. I think
Almost.
We're like
somewhat.
Millbrae or Burlingame or some suburb.
So many suburbs.
What brings you to the San Francisco Bay Area?
When does this episode come out?
Who knows?
Okay.
Is a request as when it should not come out?
Well, no, because the stories, I can tell, will change a little bit based on when it will come out. I am down here for an interview with Facebook on Tuesday.
Facebook? I use them all the time.
Many people do.
We used Facebook just now to organize our fetching and dropping.
We did, Facebook Messenger. I am there for a Facebook interview. And the interesting thing is, I am not sure if I want this job.
Oh.
You see...
We should put this out before your interview.
Well, no, because...
Not that any Facebook people watch this shit.
Not that any Facebook people watch, but it could get around. This is an interesting sort of, I guess, it's become a moral question to me.
You think Facebook has no morals?
No. It's whether I have no morals. whether I am acting immorally.
You're Canadian. How could you have morals?
You've seen
The fact that you question your morals.
You've seen what's going on up there lately. You know, there's.
Do I? What's going on up there?
The whole Harper's government's doing things.
I don't know. I'm not following.
Oh,
they don't cover Canada.
They don't get the news down here. No, there's some.
Since the Olympics, we haven't heard about them.
No, there's been a fair amount of not great government sort of abuses of power.
Oh, that's no good. I thought it only happened here.
No. Talk about stripping citizenship from people with dual citizenship. Talk about sort of...
So people like me?
If you have dual citizenship, the rule is now that... Well, not the rule, it's the proposed rule. I think it's Bill C-24, which is going forth and is being challenged, but the Conservative government really wants it to happen. It's this whole sort of anti-terrorism thing, where anybody who has dual citizenship or could claim citizenship in another country may be subject to having their Canadian citizenship revoked.
Even if I was a natural-born Canadian citizen?
Even if you were a natural-born Canadian citizen.
Oh, man.
Exactly. Like for me, for example, I am a dual citizen. I am a British citizen as well, from my mother being a British citizen. And it's in cases of, sort of terrorist things or, threats against the government or whatever.
The government?
I hope not. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm scared to. But another big interesting part of this is that the way that it would be decided to be stripped would not be like a jury or a court. It would just be a minister. So just one guy, just rubber stamping the revoking this.
Who would apply if you're revoking this? Would someone have to apply to the minister to have you revoked?
I guess it would be like
all the records.
He just would get it through like the criminal courts, I guess, or like some charge would be.
So if you don't commit crimes, you're okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think criminals should be thrown in the country anyways.
It's weird because there's a difference between like punishment and like complete revoking of citizenship, because then you're guaranteed no rights under the law. Like laws only apply to citizens generally, I think, at least like national laws. Presumably there are international laws.
Well, I think if you're in a country and you're not a citizen, you still got
like
obey the laws.
Yeah. Oh, you have to obey the laws. But you're not offered much under their sort of criminal justice system, I imagine. Not as much as a natural like a full citizen of that country would be. So, anyways, back to why I'm here. Facebook job. What happened was, about 6 months ago, a recruiter contacted me, and she asked, "Do you want to work for Facebook?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't really want to work for Facebook, but I would be interested in going through a Facebook job interview, because I haven't been through one of these big Silicon Valley full day all sort of job interview things. I haven't been. But that would probably be a waste of your time, because you have to do all those things with the engineers and everything. So I understand if you don't want to do that." And she was like, "Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, we'll keep in touch." And a few months later, another recruiter contacted me. She asked the same thing. I said the same thing. And this time, this recruiter said, "Okay, let's set up a phone interview."
Oh.
So I'm like, okay. Went through the different phone interviews. And now, apparently, I was good enough to get an on-site interview, which is why I'm here.
Good job.
They flew me down here. They're putting me up in a hotel, which is very nice of them.
And I think you couldn't have gotten where you are today without the John A. Vink Computer Science Scholarship.
I do not think so. For viewers who are not aware of this, I was the 2003 recipient of the John A. Vink Computer Science Scholarship.
I guess between 10 and 12 years.
About then, yeah.
So I in the middle there, 11 years.
Dang.
I have this year's winners.
This year's winners?
Right.
Can we announce them?
Well, they found out on Friday.
Oh.
But I announced it earlier in the show.
Oh, okay.
Got here.
That's why the envelope's already opened.
Yes.
Makes sense. You had to do something while you were circling around.
Had a little monologue to do.
It's good. You got the whole Jay Leno thing there. It's good.
So you're interviewing.
I'm interviewing. And, I don't want to say there's categorically no chance I would accept an offer. And this is all I'm basing on the assumption that I would even, at the end of this interview, get an offer. I think it's quite unlikely I would.
Unlikely? Why?
Well, it's not unlikely necessarily because of myself, but merely because of the standards of the interviews and such. I mean, I know a lot of people who go to interviews like this.
When they look at your resume and they see the John Evan Computer Science Scholarship, they're going to take you seriously.
They are going to take me seriously, but they're going to be like, what's this guy done since then? Has he done enough?
Oh, since you won the scholarship.
Since I won the scholarship. I mean, I don't want to seem like I'm resting on my laurels here. And maybe they think I would be. So I don't know.
So let's say they offered you a job.
Yeah.
What do you think you would do then? Because they have lots of money down here.
They do have lots of money.
Oh my God.
They do have lots of money. And this is where it's an interesting thing, because almost in a sense, to choose to not take the offer at this point seems almost rude or immoral.
Rude to turn them down?
Rude to turn them down. After they came down here, after they brought me down here.
They brought you all this way. They put you in a nice hotel.
Yes.
Which is
Lovely
miles
hotel.
away.
Miles away. It's right across the bridge from their headquarters.
How are you going to get to the job interview?
Taxi. They pay for the taxi as well. They pay for some travel expenses. They pay for food and everything while I'm down
We're going to drive by their big campus.
We are.
On the way to the hotel.
We are. Does this swivel around and can we get a panoramic shot, or should we not do that? Maybe
I'll put a photo in later.
Insert? Okay. But there's so much that I would be leaving behind if I did take a job down here. Like you may have mentioned already that where I am living right now is Vancouver, British Columbia.
I didn't mention that at all.
Vancouver, British Columbia.
I don't want to get into your personal life. I don't want to reveal any secrets.
Ah, okay. That's sensible.
Besides your winning of my scholarship. That's out there.
That's out there. That's public knowledge.
In the mispronunciation of your name, out there.
It's very frequent. My parents often, when they reserve tables at restaurants, they'll just go under the name Green.
That sounds like a good idea.
It is.
I know a guy changed his name to Ben Artin because he had like a Slovakian name or something, or Croatian name, which no one could pronounce properly.
I feel like I'm in a bit of a club of mispronounceable last names. It's like Matt Groening.
Groening? Everyone thinks it's groaning or something.
Exactly. He was quite successful.
When I go to coffee shops, ask for my name, I say awesome. And then when they say coffee for awesome, I go, that's me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Literally. I didn't even mean to say that like that, but perfect.
As you should do at restaurants. Say, yeah, table for awesome.
Awesome. Should just do like famous last names. Table for Gates. Table for Clooney. It would be Stephen Clooney.
Stephen Clooney?
Yeah.
George Clooney's
grandson?
nephew.
How old is George Clooney now?
He's like in his 40s.
No.
He's like my age, isn't he?
No, he's got to be older than that.
You think so?
He's got the Hollywood makeup. He could be an uncle. Uncles can be many ages.
Any age, yeah.
Exactly.
He could be a father. He could be a uncle. He could be.
Yeah.
Now, if you mess up your family tree a bit, he could be a nephew of yours.
That would be a bit messed up. Are we looking at this south-wise? Yes, we are. Okay.
We're going that way.
That's sensible.
That way is south.
Now, yes, for the map down here, it is orientated in a counter-north position here.
It's oriented to that I am driving up.
And you can see which way you're going. That's very smart.
Yeah.
It's very smart of them.
Later, we'll be driving west.
We will be.
I mean east.
So, the interview will happen. Either they will say, we will not give you an offer, or they'll say, we will give you an offer. And then I have to decide how to react to that. And I really don't want to move down here.
You don't want to move down here?
I don't want to move down here.
It's not nearly as cold or rainy.
I like the rain.
If you like the rain, this is not the place for you.
I know. Again,
like skiing, you go to Tahoe.
Weather background.
You get snow.
Ooh. That might be nice. But it's a nice area down here, certainly. Although when I got down here the first time a few years ago, I may have come down here when I was very young. I think I went down to the San Diego Zoo when I was like 5 or
That's
something.
nowhere near here.
Nowhere near here, but I probably passed through here on the way.
You guys drove?
Maybe.
If you took I-5, you went through Sacramento.
I have no idea.
But if you took 101, you would have gone right through here.
I was 5.
You're 5.
I have no idea.
If only you could ask somebody.
My parents probably.
Yeah.
They probably know. Presumably I was with them. But I came down here a few years ago. I was on a very long airport layover in SFO, and for like 8 hours.
That's a long layover.
It was, but
you planned poorly when you picked your flights.
Well, that was a long story. It was a very sort of cheap flight from Victoria to Minneapolis.
via San Francisco.
Via San Francisco, and I think via Denver as well. It went overnight.
Oh, wow.
No, Chicago, I think.
You totally picked poorly.
It was interesting. I picked for price. I picked for price.
Yeah.
Not tough.
You paid in your time instead of your cash.
It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
But with part of that time I had here, I was able to get out of the airport for some of those hours. And I did actually go downtown. I saw some friends who were down here and everything.
Did you see Coit Tower?
I don't know which tower that is. Is that the radio tower?
It looks like the handle of a fire hose, but it's a tower.
I don't think I saw that.
Do you see Golden Gate Bridge?
No.
Oh.
Well, we looked at... Well, not on that trip. Not on that trip.
Okay.
But when we got down here, I looked around and I'm just like, these mountains, they're not that mountainous. I had heard more about the San Francisco mountains. These are hills.
They call it San Francisco Hills.
Hills?
Or something. There's very few mountains. Like, there's some of these peaks are officially mountains, not this one.
No.
But
that's like
there's
3 stories tall.
Diablo somewhere, and Mount Hamilton somewhere.
They're not good mountains. You don't have the mountains of Vancouver.
No,
the scenery.
You don't have any of that.
Rent is insane down here.
Yes. So all the money they throw at you to work at Facebook
goes right into
all of it
landlord's
goes back into rent. So be warned.
Vancouver's an expensive city for rent, but it's nothing like down here.
When I first moved here, I thought, I'm going to live like a king. And after a few months, I realized, wait, I'm going to live like I did when I was in Toronto.
It's all relative.
No better.
No better. You were in Toronto? Is that where you went to university?
I went to university in Toronto, York University.
York.
And I worked there at a startup for 2 years after graduation.
Okay.
They ran out of money.
Oh, that happens.
And so I came here to work for Apple.
Sensible. But yeah, I'd have to leave so much behind. I'd have to leave behind my friends up there. I'd have to leave behind my lemon tree up there.
Your lemon tree?
I have a lemon tree.
Wow. You can't grow lemons in Victoria, can you?
Yes, you can.
How?
Indoors.
Indoors?
Well,
that's cheating.
Kind of.
It's like a greenhouse lemon tree.
Somewhat. It's in my apartment, near
I had a real lemon tree, and it died.
Oh.
It was badly pruned.
That's harsh.
It decided to die. I don't know. It's very surprising.
Badly pruned in that it was unpruned, or somebody pruned it too much?
Someone pruned it who didn't know what that person was doing. And then the tree died.
That is
very sad.
Sad.
All my lemonade, all my dreams of lemonade are dashed. Because when I had the tree, I never made lemonade from lemons.
What did you do with the lemons?
I would sometimes pick some lemon and put it on my fish and chips.
Okay, that's a pretty good use of a lemon.
And that's all I did with the lemons.
The lemon tree that I have, I originally got it when I was in Victoria. Because
You are in Victoria?
No, I'm in Vancouver.
You're in Vancouver?
Vancouver.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I've lived in Vancouver for about 2 years.
Okay.
I lived in Victoria for about 8-ish years. Before then, I went to the University of Victoria for computer science. I worked in a few places up there. I did spend some time during that time living in Vancouver again. I went to UBC for a semester. I went to Montreal for a semester.
Montreal, nice place.
Very nice.
You were there in the winter?
I was there in the fall, which is probably the best time to be in Montreal.
Nice.
Very nice. I got out of there December 12th, right when the snow started to hit.
Okay, so you missed the snow. Okay.
I missed the snow.
Did you miss the ice?
I think there was some ice. There was still some freezing ice, but I missed like the huge piles of snow.
The ice looks dangerous.
It's very
I've seen photos of Montreal in the winter, and the snow's not bad, but all those stairs have ice on them. They could kill you.
That's a real killer.
Yeah.
Not the hypothermia.
Did they bring in the military to Montreal one year if it got too cold?
I thought that was Ottawa or Ontario.
Was it?
I thought that was somewhere in Ontario.
I wasn't living there, so I don't know. I heard stories afterwards.
Because I think
it rained and then it froze and everything was iced.
There was the ice storm, which I think they made like movies about.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was like some...
Were they like Canadian independent movies?
I think it might...
I don't think we had, in a winter way too cold comes a city covered in ice. I don't recall that trailer.
I think there was actually an American film made about it. Maybe, like, it's still like a fairly sort of independent, like maybe like Miramax sort of released film.
Miramax sounds pretty major to me.
They did a lot of art films. I think they got bankrupt and got absorbed or something happened. It's a tragedy.
Just find out the name of that movie.
I think it's just called The Ice Storm.
I would watch that. And then afterwards I'd say, I shouldn't have watched that.
Shouldn't have watched that. Speaking of movies, did you ever see The Grocer's Wife?
I've not even heard of that. No.
I believe that's the name of it, The Grocer's Wife. It's a movie set in Trail.
In Trail?
In Trail.
I gotta see it now.
It is a sort of surrealistic, sort of noir movie. It's set in the 40s, 30s, 50s-ish, sort of, olden times. And it's a story of a man who has an overbearing mother, and he wants to, go out and find love, and he meets this girl he loves and that sort of thing, but his mother's very overbearing. And one day, because he forgot to close all the windows... Now, this is all from what I've heard. I have not seen this movie myself either. One day, he forgets to close the windows of the house when the smelter does a big blow-off, and his mother dies.
All the sulfur dioxide in the air kills her?
Exactly.
We had to run in sulfur dioxide when I was in high school.
You had run day? You had to run in sulfur dioxide?
We had to run all the time in PE class.
PE class. So you
have to run the bridges.
Run the bridges? Okay.
You can't do that anymore because they got rid of one of the bridges. They closed down one of the bridges, right?
Yes, they did.
The old bridge is gone.
I think it's still there physically, but it's shut off.
It's shut off, and I think they're going to actually dismantle it.
Yeah, they'll either dismantle it or it will rot away. This is a bridge that's like 120 years old.
It'll fall into the river by itself if you just leave it long enough.
There's all the shopping carts underneath it already. It just fall right in. Oh yeah, there's always, because of the Safeway right there. Everybody throws shopping carts into the river right by it.
That's not very nice.
It's not very nice, but that's the sort of town Trail is. Nah.
I'd take a shopping cart and then have chariot races with my friends. I'm not saying I did that. I'm saying I would do that if I was in Trail now.
That would be nicer.
And carts were available. But if you throw it in a river, that's just making it hard for everybody. You can't put your stuff in your car if all the carts are in the river. They still have a Super Value downtown?
No, it is Ferrero's Foods.
It used to be Ferraro's Super Value. Now
right.
Ferrero's Foods. Oh, they got rid of the Super Value name.
Super Value part, because most of the Super Values, at least in British Columbia, have been rebranded as other things. I believe there might only be one Super Value left in British Columbia.
Wow.
And that is the one on Commercial Drive in Vancouver. There was a Super Value near where I live in Vancouver in the West End on Davie Street. But it recently got rebranded as Your Independent Grocer or something like that. Some Loblaws brand or something. So
I'm unfamiliar with Vancouver.
It's a nice city. I enjoy living there. Very nice. So leaving Vancouver is not something I really want to do right now. Oh man, this is peppy. This is nice.
It's funny.
So recently, you did see me and my boyfriend. We came down on a trip here about a month or so ago. And that trip, we did drive. We drove all the way from Vancouver down to here. And I might have mentioned that. And luckily, we did not run into any cops on our way down.
Good.
Tried to keep it pretty in the speed limit sort of thing. But you never know. Probably see.
I'm not sure how they handle foreigners.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about.
When I'm in Canada and they give me a ticket, I just ignore it.
Works.
And then the 7 years passes, and it's gone.
It's gone. It depends. It might pile up. Apparently, there's... You remember the whole Stanley Cup riot thing, right?
They tore apart Vancouver?
They did some nasty things to Vancouver. All because over some hockey.
What good is ever coming out of hockey?
I don't know. I'm sure there's something. I'm sure that there are some hockey fans out there who could point to some things like, Teflon came out of the space program. Maybe some sort of adhesive material came out of hockey for the hockey tape.
Great pucks came out of hockey.
Exactly.
Used to feed starving kids now. That's the Facebook building.
That is.
You can see the big thumbs up. That's their sign.
Oh yeah. It's weird. It's out in the middle of nowhere here.
Kinda.
This is just like flat plains.
One Hacker Way. They named their street Hacker Way.
Ostentatious.
Should have been named like Friendship Avenue. Boulevard of... I said my friendship dreams. But no, they're trying to be hip and geeky and call it Hacker Way.
They're trying to really build a solid engineering culture.
I think Apple started that because they have a street called Infinite Loop.
An infinite loop?
Yeah.
Infinite loop?
Which is hilarious. I like that better than Hacker Way. This used to be, I think, the Sun Microsystems building.
Really?
Or buildings.
It's pretty new. Most of it. But I guess the Sun buildings could be pretty new as well. Wasn't that long ago they were big news.
Not long ago they were eaten by Oracle. Now I'm gonna go over a bridge.
I think this might be a toll bridge.
It's toll the other direction.
Ah. Well.
The cheap guy I am, I planned my route not to pay anything. Yeah.
Very smart. Tidal flats out here.
Exotic birds
Oh, that would
come
be
out
nice.
here sometimes.
Marshes.
Not really that exotic. But they have egrets.
Those are
which
nice.
are white and long.
Get electrocuted on all the power lines over there.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't have a car back in Vancouver. I just use those car-to-goes. Handy.
We have something called Zipcar here. The Zipcar is the same as car to go.
Do you have to... How long does it take to reserve a Zipcar?
I have no idea.
Because with the car-to-goes, you just like go up to the car and you put your card on it and it unlocks.
Oh.
So you don't need to do it like a day in advance or whatever. It's very on demand. I mean, it's still owned by, I think, Mercedes-Benz. So it's not like a car co-op. It's not like you're sharing and sort of self-direct and everything. It's not necessarily the most, hippie-ish business model. But it is nice, and it's very convenient to not have to deal with your own car and still have a car there when you need it.
I think Zipcar is popular in San Francisco because it's really difficult to own a car there.
Yeah.
There's little parking.
So little parking.
Yeah.
I rented a car for the drive down here last trip. Rented a car, and it was a bit of an ordeal to go out and keep on reparking it every 2 hours during the day.
Oh, yeah.
And he drove all the way down along the Oregon coast, which is very nice. I don't know if you've been down through that way.
I've driven along I-5. That's not quite on the coast.
No. We drove through I-5 on the way back up.
So you went on Highway 1?
I think it's Highway 1, yeah. Just all curves, like right on the coastline there.
Very coasty.
Very coastal. Very nice.
Curvy and coasty.
Very curvy.
And cliffy.
Coasty. Cliffy. Not too many cliffs.
The California part's really cliffy.
That's what I heard. We just went along the Oregon part.
I heard Oregon's cliffy too, but I've never been.
There's some cliffs. It's not too bad. A lot of sort of seaside towns. A lot of nice parks. We stopped at a nice park called the Devil's Punch Bowl, which was this sea cave. So you're on top of a cliff. You're looking down at the top of another sort of lower cliff. And inside of this cliff, there was this cave. And the cave got eroded through the sea water action and everything. And it got to the point where the ceiling actually fell in. So now you have this big open area that's still mostly bordered on the front by the cliff walls. Big punch bowl. Devil's Punch Bowl.
Right.
What else is new since I've seen you last?
I started a new show called Engineers in Cars, Fixing Friends from the Airport.
Thank you. I believe this is the third episode?
Fourth.
Oh my gosh.
So we made one on Friday. It hasn't been edited yet.
I'm sorry.
On that.
Didn't mean to break the continuity here.
See, people are going to know that there's been a delay. They're going to think it's not a live show.
This happens. This is how it happens. You can just edit that part out, and it looks like we just moved forward.
Yeah.
That was a wormhole we went through. There we go.
I got to take out all the boring parts to make us sound very exciting people.
Editing works wonders.
Well, Stephen, thanks for being a guest on Engineers in Cars, Fetching Friends from the Airport.
Well, John, thank you for having me here on Engineers Fetching Friends from the Cars. Airports. Something.
Yes.
Thank you.